Welcome back, my curious souls. I am Mountain Mama of Mountain Mama Investigations, a Appalachian high strangeness and paranormal research team who is dedicated to the preservation of historical locations through paranormal investigation. Today, I'm really excited to talk to you about a recent investigation that we did. It was actually barely outside the bounds of Appalachia, located in Middletown, Ohio. The location is called Poasttown Elementary, and I wanted to go over some history with you and also some tragedies related to the property. So that way, in a later episode, we can actually give you our evidence that we experienced there. So, first off, this is a very big school, and the architecture was a little bit different than what I'm used to. It did remind me, though, in the gymnasium especially, some of the same construction of the older elementary schools located in eastern Kentucky. But one thing that was a bit different to me, and maybe this is more common than I think, was just that the cafeteria and the gym is actually located in a basement. And that was a little bit different than what I'm used to. Upstairs was going to be that middle level that had access to the principal's office, secretarial offices, things in that way. And then as you went upstairs, that's when you got more into your classrooms. So a little bit different construction there, but very, very large. And I want to actually go ahead and start out, give some history of the location, and we'll dig a little bit deeper into it. I got my trusted notes here, and we're going to cover it. So, Poasttown is a unincorporated community, and it's located in northeastern Madison Township. It's Butler County, Ohio. Now, it was laid out by Peter Poast in 1818 as the town of West Liberty. He was the first postmaster, so the name was changed to actually dedicate it to the founder, Peter Poast. Now, going back here a little bit more, so 1937 is when Poasttown Elementary opens to replace the old one-room school. And the old school became Grange Hall and then the fire department. But this school opened on September 7th, 1937 for Poasttown. But it was not dedicated until April 15th of 1938. Now, the school actually stayed open all the way till 2000. At least that's what the records are showing. I did also see that one of the reasons was a safety hazard that it was closed down. The area with the principal's office, the hallway is pretty narrow, and it was indicated that this was a fire hazard basically because the hallway was built too small. So, take it for what it's worth. And before the school was even built on this land is where it gets interesting, along with maybe indicating some of the reasons that the school is actually so active, I would say. Now, we have found in our experience and in our investigations that public locations tend to have more activity. Courthouses, schools, hospitals, you name it, somewhere where a lot of energy has passed through, churches even, for instance. So I think that this is probably the same as most of those locations in that way. Now, let's go way back. Let's go way back on the land before we even get into any kind of tragedies here. Now, the land is suspected to be on Native American ceremonial ground. Now, I've even been told across the road there that there are some Native American mounds, burial mounds. So the names associated here with Native Americans were Shawnee, there was Fort Ancient, Miami, Wyandotte. There were quite a few, and some of the main names of chiefs or leaders being Blue Jacket and Little Turtle were the names that I actually got there. Now, it was also around a church area, mid to late 1800s, that was near the land. And also here, it says that Poasttown School, a small brick building, was completed in 1857, and that a Native American village now stood on the site, and that George Rogers Clark passed through the village very near this building. Okay, so that was the quote that I actually had about George Rogers Clark passing through and saying that this was Native American land. This was out of Hamilton Evening Journal, November 5th, 1932, that this was actually written and put out. So let's go back a little bit further here and see what could actually be causing this haunting in particular. We know that a lot of times that traumatic events can trigger maybe residual energy or almost trapped energy at times within a location. So these are things that happened before this brick and mortar was even put up. So the land itself. Now, it was in 1851 that Cincinnati Hamilton Dayton Railroad, north of the village, made this area a shipping point. Now, in 1891, it was actually July 25th of 1891, there were employees of the National Cash Registry on their way back from a company picnic, and they were going back to Dayton. Now, the train collided with a freight train, and there were 4 deaths and 50 injured. Now, if we go forward here to 1910, we have a similar circumstance, but even worse. So that's whenever on July 4th, so it was 4th of July, 1910, that engineer of the Big 4 Pass train ran off schedule after a detour and hit a freight train. Now, all passengers in 2 cars died or were injured. There were no hospitals at that time in the location and on that land. So what they actually had to do, the school was not built yet. They did not use the school. They had to use the land as a triage and to put these bodies out on. And this was before Poasttown Elementary was even happening. I mean, this was 1910. There still have been 27 years before, Poasttown became a reality at that point. Now, I did also see that in 1913, though, that there was a large flood and that a lot of Butler County was destroyed. So we have, Native American land. We have also in there 2 train wrecks that have happened within years apart from each other. We have a flood that's occurred. I also saw that the space was used for churches, for training sessions. Fire departments have trained in there. Trained in there. There's been doomsday prep training in there. The United Methodist Church used the building until repairs were done, and this was in the Journal News in December 12th of 1977. And there were some other tragedies of those in the school, students and employee, that I was able to find. So there was a 8th grade honors student who was 13 years old, and they passed after they lost control of their bicycle and on a steep hill, and this caused a head injury 1 week before graduation, and he did not survive. This was in the Dayton Daily News, May 27th in 1962. There was also a kindergarten student who unfortunately had a head injury after falling off of a rocking chair. And there was also a school custodian who passed away in an apartment fire. So in 1991, they actually made a memorial to that custodian. That was from the Cincinnati Enquirer. So going back here and looking at the land before the school even occurred, there's a lot of activity happening on it in traumatic energy. And then you put this public location on top of that land, and that's whenever you start having even more energy because there's just so many people passing in this property all the time. And now you have paranormal investigators going into the location and experiencing things. And the interesting part is a lot of the claims have been physical movement, doors shutting, closing, sometimes very aggressively or hitting people in the face. The owner has experienced a lot in their own portion of the building where they live there, being pulled out of the bed, or a little more in the way of a violent kind of reaction from this. Um, there's been voices, apparitions, I'm sure also probably shadows at some points. We'll get into what we experience, but yes, definitely shadows. And also just images of seeing these apparitions that are still experienced there. Now, a little updated history, there was a couple of horror movies that actually were filmed at the location. Ghost Brothers actually appeared at the location, did an episode there. So the building has been pretty well known for its activity. And within speaking with the owner, I did ask the question, since you started letting people investigate here, has the activity ramped up? And they said absolutely. So there is so much mystery right now, still, even as we're going through our footage, as to what could be happening here, because responses aren't just coming from those who worked or were in the school, but there are responses coming at times from those who were in the train accident. And there might even be experience, if it was enough digging done, from Native American culture right there on the land too. So we will get into it a bit more. This is the history, the tragedy, and also some of the experience from other investigators or those who have been in Poasttown Elementary. I've had a lot of different people tell me about their experience even while they were filming the movie within the building, hearing voices or whispering, being touched in some way. So we will actually dig in a bit more and let you know with an updated video on our evidence and what it is that we find here at Poasttown Elementary. Once again, amazing location, a lot of history in it, beautifully built, and super amazing, I believe, for the time period on how massive this school was. I think it was very impressive with 1937 to have a school this large. And the layout was very interesting to me also. This is another one of those places that if you have the opportunity, we would love for you to go see it. We want Poasttown to be open for many generations. We want other generations and future generations to be able to experience Poasttown. And with the large scale of this school, I know it has to be expensive to keep this place open and to keep it going. And we commend Daryl and his family for doing that, for us to be able to come in and check out this location and continue to explore it, because I feel that it has so many stones left unturned. If you have an opportunity, please definitely go check it out. Support them and take a look for yourself. See what Poasttown has to offer, because willing to bet you're not going to leave disappointed. And once again, we really thank you for being here. We thank you for watching this video and letting us be able to bring the investigation to you as we're trying to do. If you're not able to get out and investigate, that's just fine. We want you to be able to be there with us, and that's why we create these videos. We will go ahead and post our link tree below so you can follow us on other social media if you're interested, as we try to go live on Facebook as often as we can when we're at these locations, as long as we have the ability. And we're working to get to a point where we can also go live on TikTok. So if you want to be able to follow us on there and help us out with that, we certainly appreciate it. If you want to be a part of this passion project and help donate to it as we continue to go to these locations, there's a link for that too, but no pressure. We're just happy that you're here. So we will be back soon with another video on what evidence that we found from Poasttown, and we look forward to seeing you again. Stay curious, my friends.